Hi everyone, I'm Kathy, the Clumsy Soaper. Soap making is my creative outlet and this channel is all about soap making. Today, I would like to share with you my process on BEET ROOT soap making. Without further ado, let's get started! I went to the supermarket to buy beetroot. When you buy beetroot for soap making, remember to choose the small size beetroot. I know that the big ones look nice, but it is fibrous and tough to cut. It would also mean that the beetroot was harvested late and its juice content is less. First, let me cut the beetroot into half. As you can see, the beetroot contains dark red and white rings. I've used that as an inspiration for the design of this cold processed beetroot soap. Next, I cut the beetroot into chunks and place it inside the blender. I pulsed it to obtain a juice. Using a coffee filter, I separated the juice from the pulp. In today's project, we will just use the juice. In using any fruit or vegetable in soap, I always suggest to just use the juice so that the shelf life of the soap will be longer. Normally, it will be 1 to 3 years in a cool, dry place. When you have the pulp in the soap, the shelf life of the soap is shorter, probably around 6 months tops, and the pulp will turn dark brown when oxidized. Some people like it as an exfoliant in their soap, but it is not aesthetically pleasing to the majority. For this project, we need a frozen beetroot juice, so make sure to keep this ready a night before you make the soap. The ingredients that I use today are 5-oil blend, lye, fragrance oil, red oxide pigment, neon red pigment, and the frozen beetroot. The frozen beetroot, I just kept it inside the fridge and I'll just take it when I'm about to use it later. If you are wondering on whether the beetroot red pigment betalain can be used to naturally color your soap, remember to stay until the end of this video and you'll see the answer to that question. First, let us disperse the 2 red colorants in oil. I've used the mini mixer to ensure that the pigments is properly dispersed and to avoid color specks in the final bar. Here I have used 1 teaspoon per pound of oil colorant load. I pre-weighed the colorants inside the beaker. My little trick is when I receive a new colorant, I will immediately weigh 1 teaspoon and record the weight in my notebook and in the colorant container. This means that the next time when I need less of a teaspoon, I can just weigh the colorants instead of doing some estimation or eyeballing. Both lye and oil are at room temperature now, about 30-ish for both. We have 30 and 32. And I don't have to heat my oils because I stay in a tropical climate. It stays melted except during rainy seasons. I always prepare my oil blend and lye in advance, and I normally master batch a quantity that is good for 15 to 20 small batches for efficiency and consistency. It also helps me to eliminate other factors and variables, especially when I am testing fragrance oil and colorants. Next, let us slowly pour 37% lye solution into the 5-oil blend. This 5-oil blend contains pure olive oil, sustainable palm oil, 76 degrees coconut oil, jojoba oil, and castor oil. For the lye, it was calculated at 5% superfat using my own soap lye calculator at www.mysoapcalc.com/soap. It is a free tool that you can use to make your soap recipes. Go and give it a try. I'll put the link in the description box below. Then we have to swirl it gently until we reach an emulsion. You can use a stick blender if you prefer, but for me, I am using my no-stick blender technique. I have a stick blender, but I really like the traditional way of mixing soap. Unlike ancient days when soap makers have to mix and stir oil and lye for a couple of days or hours to get the correct consistency, we can do it in less than a few minutes when we use higher concentration of lye solution. As you can see, the emulsion stays fluid even if the concentration is high because of the gentle hand mixing and low temperature. It will also depend on the oils that you used for your recipe. Next, I've added the fragrance oil. Fragrance load is 3.5% and my target here is a mild and gently scented soap bar. Today, I've decided to use spiced cranberry fragrance oil. This FO contains 1% vanillin and it will lightly discolor the soap, but it doesn't really matter to me because the color that we will use today are dark, and the darker it becomes, it will be even better and it will complement the design that I am after. For the scent, it is a mix of sweet cranberry, sweet mandarin orange, together with cinnamon and clove. The FO vendor said that it will not accelerate, but from my experience and from the components that we have today, I know that this FO will slightly accelerate the trace due to the presence of eugenol in clove. So I try to maintain a low temperature in making this soap. I've decided to divide the soap water into 3 portions and pour a small portion into a beaker containing the colorants in oil suspension. Then I stirred it again. As you can see, I am vigorously stirring the water until trace. After that, I took the frozen beetroot and cut it into chunks. I added 1 chunk of beetroot into the 3 soap water portions. I stir again until the beetroot is fully dissolved and incorporated into each soap water. This is my little trick in making any soap containing fruit or vegetable. You have to keep the temperature as low as possible. Treat it like the way you would in making milk soaps. Another option is for you to do a full replacement with the frozen beetroot juice. You may use that to dissolve the lye. Some soap makers say it will be smelly and the color will turn brown, and that is because of the high sugar component in the beetroot. For me, I prefer to just replace a portion of my lye water and substitute it with the beetroot juice because I master batch my lye at 37% concentration, and I use this concentration as my go-to concentration in most of my soap making projects. In preparation for the design, I'd like to see colored rings in my soap. I've decided to use the other half of the soda bottle that I cut to make the soda bottle soap making tool that I shared to you 2 weeks ago. If you haven't watched that, I'll put the link in the description box below. This is so easy to do. I just alternately pour the colors, and whether the ring is in the center or not is actually fine with me. Our day will not be complete without our little chit chat on the benefits of beetroot in our soap. Beetroot is good for skin blemishes and anti-aging. It naturally is used to combat wrinkles and other skin conditions. Beetroot is rich in sugar and it will also help to produce more bubbles in our soap. I also have to remind you that we cannot make any claim in our soap, but I'm sharing this to you because this information is actually good for soap label appeal. After 3 days, I've unmolded the soap, and now let us cut the loop using my soap cutter red sparkle. I'll turn the music on for a while, so stay tuned. And I hope that you'll stay there. Don't touch the screen, and I'll be back in a short while. I produced 5 bars of mild spice cranberry scented beetroot soap. I also have 3 cupcakes with plain Jane red, dark red, and uncolored soap. So, as you can see, the natural pigment of beetroot will not survive the high pH environment during saponification. So, if you guess it correctly, please write it down in the comment section below. Any other comments that you have in terms of the video or in the use of beetroot in your soap? I hope that you enjoyed our soap making session today, and I thank you so much for joining me. Once again, I am Kathy the Clumsy Soaper, and if you are new here, I hope that you would consider subscribing into my mini soap making channel for a weekly soap making video, DIY tutorials, and a lot more. Hit the bell icon so that you will be notified when I release a new content here in my channel. Just like you, soap making is my passion, and I would really appreciate if you can join me in my soap making journey so we could learn and grow together. Thank you so much, Soap Sisters and Bubble Brothers, and happy birthday to those who are celebrating their birthdays this month. God bless!